La 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 bum bum ba-da-dum bum bum ba-da-dum bum bum ba-da-dum.
Hi, John Hammond here, and this is the Gospel According to John, a satirical look at the biblical narrative. So we start out with the book of Genesis, of course. In the beginning, God creates the heavens and the earth. The earth is formless and empty, and God's hovering over the waters. God says, "Let there be light." And what do you know? There it is. God sees that light is good and makes the distinction between light and dark. This is the first day. Next, God separates the waters from the waters to create a firmament. The archaic way this is phrased is a little confusing, but it sounds like the atmosphere is being created here. So, moving right along. God spends the second day making the atmosphere, and the third day gathering water together to make seas and land. God's all like,
This is cool.
and proceeds to create the sun, the moon, and the stars. These are to separate the night and the day, though this was already established in verse 5. So the creation process continues. Next, God creates life in the seas, which interestingly enough coincides with the fossil record in its own way, and birds and such. God tells the critters to get jiggy with it and fill the seas and the sky with more of their kind. He does the same for land creatures, and thus we come to the fifth day. Next morning, God's up bright and early, proclaiming, "Let us make man in our likeness." And this gives me pause. It's a little unclear who exactly God's talking to at this point. Is it the unmentioned insofar angels? Is it Jesus, as some have suggested? Is God talking to himself? And if so, why refer to himself as us? I don't know. So God creates man in his own image, male and female, mentioned and reinforced this way in the text, which seems to indicate that God is simultaneously both. So God gives the humans a similar directive to the one he bestowed upon animal kind, with some important differences. And I'm just gonna read what it says here, because honestly it sounds like supervillain banter to me.
Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air and over every living creature that moveth upon the ground.
I'm sorry, but that just makes me think of Pineapple Pokepo from The Tick saying,
Rule it with an iron fist.
but I digress. So God tells everybody to be vegetarians and takes the next day off. Thus, we come to the end of Genesis chapter 1. Tune in next week for chapter 2. I'm John Hammond, and this is the Gospel According to John.
Dun 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 dun.